You're listening to the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty show. I'll be your host this week, Ali. You can follow me on X at FF Dynasty Grill. With me as always is my amazing co-host, Kev, who you can follow on X at the Dynasty Mind. Kev, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing absolutely splendid, Ali. Thank you very much for the intro. Yeah, just very exciting and busy time of the off-season with sort of the pre-season games and sort of the start of the league's just around the corner. So it's very busy, lots to take in. But we're going to build on last week's show and we're going to finish what we started. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. I believe this is our penultimate show of the off-season. Have we got one more before the season officially kicks in? That is pretty exciting, and causing more excitement is our next co-host, Mags, who you can follow on X, as always, at Hot Seat Mags. Mags, how you doing, mate?
Oh, mate, I'm doing absolutely great. Love this. You know, Tuesday is like sort of sorry for all those people listening whenever this comes out, but we record this on a Tuesday, right? Tuesday is like a hump day for a lot of people, and they're kind of like, oh, Tuesday. But just being on this show with you two, Tuesday, it's just the highlight of the week. So it's made Tuesday, often the worst day for people. It's the best day of the week with the best three from the wildcard team. How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, doing good. Yeah, just really looking forward to what the start of the season brings, and just figuring out all the hard work of the off-season, how it's going to pay off the beginning of the season. And I wanted to lead into tonight's episode with a question to you boys about how you treat this sort of period in the pre-season. How are you feeling about it? Are you constantly scouring the waiver wire for pickups? Trying to find that next Puka Nakua, the pre-season darling, or are you just sitting back because you've done all your hard work already in the off season? So just how are you boys treating this little period before the season starts?
I guess for me, like a lot of the heavy lifting's done early on in the off season. There'll be some leagues where you might want to take a stab on someone that's on waivers, like a Jordan Mason's caught a bit of steam, or if people are chasing Nakua, Jordan Whittington of the Rams. But I think you've got to pay attention this time of season because, as Hannah mentioned on last night's Rewind show, it's really important. This is really key. There's going to give you some hints on players to go after and players that you should be feeling pretty worried about. Troy Franklin.
And you, Mags?
Yeah, I've got a couple of different processes I like to go through. I'm obviously we're all a bit degenerates here. We're probably all in too many leagues, so I like to go through each league and do different things. So earlier in the week, I went through and I cut all the players that I didn't like, and I had to look at waiver wires. Then maybe the next day I went through and maybe went and targeted certain players. Like I went on a little Devon Echan spending spree, which was quite lovely. Ended up with a few more shares of Echan, which was nice. So I'll take it day by day, and I'll have one goal in mind for each of my leagues and go out and try and do that one thing in as many of the leagues as possible, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I'm culling rosters. I'm picking up people left and right. Some players available on the waiver wire, by the way, you'd be surprised at some of the people still on a waiver wire. So yeah, I'm out there picking them up. How about you, mate?
Yeah, I love that. Very, very thorough of you, Mags. Very, very interesting. But yeah, similarly, I just like to set goals for each team about where I want it to go, what I think it looks like right now, and then we'll look at it again towards the mid-season point, perhaps a little bit before then. But yeah, definitely spending a few bucks right now on waiver wire pickups that may not hit, but only takes one, and you've made plenty of value on that pick. So spending a lot of time looking for that diamond in the rough, but perhaps we won't find any. But it's always interesting to drop a few players or see the names of the players that people are dropping to pick up these rookies that nobody's heard of. And just a really interesting time. But Thought that was an interesting one to put out there to see what your boys' process is this time in the off season as we, crank it up to the start of the season. And with that, we better head over to tonight's topic, which will be the opposite of last week's episode, where we're going to be giving you the fantasy wildcard teams, fantasy wildcard fallers for 2024. So I've seen so many articles out there, videos about people that think players that are going to take off this year, but there's not many talk about the ones that are actually going to lose value. So I thought this could be a really interesting exercise. And we had Lewis up first, who's chosen a quarterback who certainly caught heat the second half of last season and is now firmly in the top 10 in terms of quarterback dynasty rankings. We'll head it over for you, Kev. It's Jordan Love Lewis has picked as the guy that he thinks is going to lose the most value. Currently quarterback 9. So how do you feel about this pick?
I mean, first of all, the show tonight just got to sort of let the audience know it's going to be players that are highly ranked. Like the lowest ranked player we've got is someone that's 14th at their position. And it ties in perfectly with what we talk about, the fall in value. It's going to be difficult to pick someone low down in value that's going to drop even further in value. So these are all great players. These are all great dynasty assets. Well, maybe not all of them, Mags, but the ones that are highly touted at the market, and ones which, you know what, it's going to be difficult for them to maintain that value. They have to go up or go down. So I think it's a really worthwhile show. Jordan Love is someone that's QB9 at the market, and I think what I really like about this pick with Lewis is on the Risers show, he picked Kyler Murray, who's behind Jordan Love in the rankings currently, and he's picked Jordan Love. So he's telling that story where he's flip-flopping in the sense of he's hoping that Kyler Murray goes up, Jordan Love comes down. And look, I think I really like the pick. He's someone that, you know what, he had a great finish to last season. It's Jordan Love, but it's a small sample. And I think there's lots of QBs sort of around him or below him, which you can tell a story for them exceeding as well. I think the fact that he doesn't have exceptional dual threat ability is an issue. And he's going to win by efficiency, which I think he can because they've got a ton of interesting weapons. There are lots of diverse weapons. But this is a sort of player, just taking the name Jordan Love out, thinking about what he is as an asset, this is a sort of asset that I'm more happy to make a bet on reducing in value. Albeit, I still think he'll be a really good player this season. If he's a low-end QB1, I think that's achievable. I just feel there's some below him that are going to rise even more.
New Mags?
Yeah. He's a really interesting one. He's a guy that I sort of thought about as well for this show because quarterback 9, while it's not an absolutely awful rating for Jordan Love, it's also based on a lot less than some of the other people around him. He has done it for, the back end of a season where he, did look pretty good. But the issue now is Jordan Love, unless someone else has overtaken him and maybe they have highest paid player in the NFL right now is Jordan Love, which I just cannot believe I said that out loud. This is the guy now who is only going to see the team around him get worse because of his contract that he's on now. They're not going to be able to afford a lot of the other weapons around him. So a long-term asset, I just see it the only way it's down for Jordan Love. I don't see how he continues to climb up the rankings. I just see QB9 as his absolute ceiling. And as well, you know what it's like in the Dynasty game. He's the new hotness right now. Someone else could come along and jump over him if they have a hot streak at the end of the season. And people are like, oh, well, we don't like Jordan Love as much because he's been around for a bit. I don't hate QB9, but I could see him falling just outside the top 12 for sure as well. So yeah, I do like the pick from Lewis. And Kev, I think you said it really, really well there. It's not that we're saying Jordan Love is a bad player. It's not that we think Jordan Love sucks. It's just that I don't quite doesn't sit comfortably with me that Jordan Love is ranked ahead of a guy like Justin Herbert, who I would take 9 times out of 10 ahead of Jordan Love.
Yeah, well said, Mags. You are a very, very smart bloke. You're both smart blokes, but I was then about to say, I agree. I think the quarterback 9 ranking is not egregious. I don't think it's way too high. I've got him ranked quarterback 11, so just 2 spots. But I cannot have him above Kyler Murray. There's no chance that I would rank Jordan Love ahead of Kyler Murray. I've also got Justin Herbert 1 spot ahead. I feel like this is probably going to be the cheapest time you'll ever get Justin Herbert because I think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I think obviously the weapons there are dodgy at this season, but they're going to get better in time. So with Jordan Love, I think, they gave him the bag, but I think that's going to happen. And in a year's time, he'll probably be the 7th or 8th highest paid quarterback. It's just how it works out. But yeah, I think this is a pretty decent pick. I think you talk about ceiling. I think his ceiling is probably, I mean, if his receivers really take the next step, he's got enough of them. He's got plenty of weapons there, but we don't really call any of them elite. They're all they've got potential. I say his ceiling is probably quarterback 7. So honestly, at quarterback 9, the ceiling is very, very close. I think Kev mentioned it, I don't see much of a fall this year. I think he does have another good season. It's just a case of those quarterbacks below him potentially overtaking him in rankings. And I talk about Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray. I mean, I think he'll quite quickly go ahead of him. So I just think there's a space for 2 or 3 quarterbacks to rise above him. And yeah, would I be surprised if he was quarterback 14 heading into 2025? No, I think that's probably about where it ends up. So yeah, I do see a bit of a fall in value potentially for Jordan Love, but I don't see it being massive. So I think this is going to be a correct pick, but it's probably not going to be the winning pick because that will be me. And then we'll move on to a good pick to an absolutely awful, terrible pick from the Queen Hannah, who had a fantastic pick last week in picking the guy that I wanted to take in Jermaine Burton. But this week she's gone for the fantasy faller. I can't quite believe it. So I've got to head over to you, Mags, before I need to calm myself down. So over to you, Mags, for Rachaad White, who Hannah thinks is going to be the biggest fantasy faller.
I can see why. Because Rachaad White, his bread and butter last year was getting all of those targets. Whenever you look at Rachaad White between the tackles, though, I mean, is it a stretch to say awful? Because he's pretty close to awful between the tackles. He was one of the most used running backs between the tackles in the NFL and also one of the least efficient in the NFL as well. I believe I seen a stat somewhere about his red zone carries that was also not pretty. They went out, they drafted a guy who, pre-combine, pre-draft, Bucky Irving was getting a lot of hot press. I think Bucky Irving's got a chance to come in and take some of those precious receptions away from Rachaad White, which I think that's where all of his dynasty value is. The only issue I have with the pick here with Hannah is I think a lot of people are also thinking that because Rachaad White was running back 3 last year, and he's only ranked as RB 14. I think people are wise to what's happening with Rachaad White, and they're reading the stat lines, and that's why he's ranked so low, because there's no real reason for a young running back who's just come off a really strong running back 1 season to be ranked all the way down there, unless everyone's thinking what I'm thinking. And Ali, I think it was a fluke. I'm not going to lie.
Kev, do you feel the same?
I mean, first of all, we've got to set some parameters here that the wildcard rises and falls, it's based on sort of value right at the end of the season. So I think that's something to really bear in mind, especially at a spotlight running back and knowing what class is coming in next year. Because if you say it's in a year's time, all the running backs that we name are going to be lower in value because there's such a stacked class coming in. But I think running back 14, first of all, it's the bravest pick out of everybody. It's Hannah making the bravest pick. So well done to her on that. I think, look, Rashad White was running back 10 in fantasy points per game. He got by last season by staying healthy and getting a ton of receptions. Touchdown-wise, he got 5 on the ground, 3 through the air. He's probably going to put similar numbers up this year. But there is certain reasons why he might not succeed. Bucky Irving, decent in the pass game. You've got a new offensive coordinator. How's that going to look? It could be better. It could be worse. You've got Godwin back in the optimal position over the middle of the field. His receptions have got to go up. Cade Otton stinks, so we're not going to talk about him. Sorry, Cade, every week. So, yeah, I think I still think Rashad White will have a really strong season just based on volume. Do I think it'll be running back 3 or 4 that he was last year? No, I don't. But I still think he'll have a running back 1 season low end. How will that affect him in his value towards the end of this season? I'd struggle to see him fall a lot. I think naturally that he's 25 going on 26. You might see a little bit of hesitation in the market, especially with the fact that not a lot of teams in your league are going to be in on him towards the end of this season or right at the end of this season. It's going to be specific builds, contenders that are in on him. So I can see him sort of round that range falling a little bit. But I think where it's based and where it's judged at the end of this season, it's going to be difficult for him to fall a great amount. Yeah.
No. It's an obvious pick that you don't read a Dynasty article out there that is about sales that doesn't mention Rashad White as someone that clearly will have less opportunities this year. He was second in the NFL in running back touches last year, only behind Christian McCaffrey. I think obviously that will go down. Bucky Irving coming in. I mean, the talk of Buccaneers preseason has been Sean Tucker. Here we go again. He's been running at something like 7.9 yards a carry in preseason. And the thing that I agree with you, Kev, I think that he will fall in value, but I think that's naturally because of all the running backs coming in. It's going to be a pretty special class by the looks of it next year. I think that he's going to lose value, but he's not going to lose a massive amount of value. I can see him having, I'm not going to say he's going to be RB4 or 5, whatever he finished last year again, but an RB1. Would he finish as running back 10, 11? I think that's easily in the realms of possibility. This offense as a whole, I think the offensive line is going to take a massive step forward. So the run blocking grade for this Buccaneers team last year was dead last, 32nd in the NFL. So he was being hit behind the line more than any running back other than perhaps Derrick Henry, because the Titans were bad as well. They've obviously addressed that in the draft and free agency. And I think what we're seeing so far in preseason, I know you can't really judge that, is they've been absolutely dominant, this offensive line, and you've not even had the 2 tackles come in and start either. So I think the signs are there for the running game to take a big step forward this year. But what does that look like? Does that look like 70% Rashad White, or does it look like 60-40 Rashad White, Bucky Irving, and a little bit of Sean Tucker sprinkled in? So I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to say sell Rashad White, because I think everybody's trying to sell Rashad White based on what he done last year. They think that he can't achieve that again, which is probably realistic. But at RB14, I think the value's probably gone perhaps the other way, where I think he's going to finish above RB14 this year. So it's probably a bit of a value, especially if you are a contender. But yeah, I think naturally a lot of running backs in this range are going to fall just because of the class that comes in and the anticipation. So even before the end of the season, we're going to know how many really good running backs are coming in. And I think naturally a lot of the values are going to drop. So it's a good pick. Is it going to be the winning pick of tonight? I'm not quite sure. And with that, we'll move on to the best.
I pick that's definitely not going to be the winning one, by the way. We're moving on to
the best pick of the night. And this is such a shame that Paul couldn't come on and explain himself on this one, but he's chosen Dalton Kincaid, currently the tight end 3. So we'll go to you, Kev, while Mags shakes his head.
I love Paul. He's probably made his pick just to wind up Mags. Like, he's probably got no thoughts or feelings on it. Just who does Mags like? We'll go for him. We'll try and poke the bear as such. Look, so Dalton Kincaid is valued as a top 3 tight end in Dynasty. For him to drop, you got to think about the players below him jumping him, or Kincaid having a poor average season as such. So I think, first of all, looking at the players behind him, guys like Bowers, Pitts, Mark Andrews are the main ones that stand out as players that could jump him. There is scenarios where definitely the first 2, the community gets excited because of their age and sort of the hype that Pitts has had, and that Bowers, if you're just looking at him as a college prospect, has as much hype as Kyle Pitts had coming out. Mark Andrews probably isn't going to jump in because he's got an older, he's got a higher number next to his age, so I can't see that. And then there's the other side, Dalton Kincaid not working out in Buffalo. I struggle to see that because his sort of the consensus views from training camp is he's been excellent. You've got Curtis Samuel banged up. You've got the rest of the wide receiver core is unproven at best. You're relying on rookies. People are getting scared of Dawson Knox. Like, what are you doing getting scared of Dawson Knox? Grow up. Yeah. So as much as I want to agree with Paul and wind up Mags, I struggle seeing Kincaid fall in a lot. I think, you know what, it could be tight end 5 in a year's time. Of course, it could, or at the end of the season, but I don't think it'll be him losing a ton of value. Remember, we're judging this on the amount at Keep Trade Cut as opposed to the ranking. So I just feel if he does become the tight end 5, it's going to be because the ones lower than him increase their value as opposed to Kincaid losing his value.
Go on, Mags.
I mean, I don't understand how you could think he's going to lose value. Let me just tell you something. The Bills are losing nearly 75% of all of their yards from receivers last year just by losing Diggs and Davis and then a couple of guys. 75%. That's nearly 3,500 yards up for grabs on this team this year. Who do you think's going to get? Keon Coleman's going to get a 3,000 yard season? Like, it's just like, it has to go to somebody. And just by hook or by crook, Dalton Kincaid all of a sudden, even after just 1 year, is the most trusted guy in that offense right now. He came off a really, really solid rookie year. He does not drop the ball, which Josh Allen is going to love feeding him targets because of that. I think he's the number 1 read in that offense. I don't see anyone else at the minute who can step in and be that number 1 guy. I think Kincaid's the number 1 read. I think James Cook is probably the number 2 read. And then I think it goes to a rookie or one of these gadgety guys that they have. I think Kincaid is going to finish the season as tight end 1 overall. And I think he will be Dynasty tight end 1 overall this time next year.
Ooh, would you put money on it?
I mean, Paul doesn't do bets. Paul doesn't do bets with me because I win every single time. But yeah, I'd put money on it with Paul.
Love it. I think out of the 2 scenarios where Dalton Kincaid either loses a lot of value or Dalton Kincaid is the tight end 1 come next year, I think the odds are stacked in the favor of Dalton Kincaid being the tight end 1. I think for the reasons mentioned by you, Mags, I think just by default, I think he's a very good tight end, but I think he's going to have to see a lot of targets this year. They're gonna have Dawson Knox a lot, but Dalton Kincaid is a different type of tight end to Dawson Knox.
Yeah,
and I just think, I think Keon Coleman, he may be looking good in preseason, but I don't think he's going to be the breakout star that some people are touting him to be. I think he's going to be a slow start, a slow burner. Curtis Samuel with that turf toe, that leaves you with Khalil Shakir and a load of names, really. So, yeah, I think Dalton Kincaid is going to be in for a massive season. And, yeah, tight end 3, he'll be top 3 again, I think, come this time next year. So, would love to say this pick's going to win. I mean, unless he just gets a massive injury, breaks both his legs, this is not going to be...
Oh, Ali, stop talking, please. My God.
This is not going to be the winning pick, but it's definitely the funniest pick.
That would have been my answer on the Wheel of Death show I missed, by the way, and the Andy reading the thong bit. It's like, what's the worst thing that could happen in fantasy football? Like Dalton Kincaid breaking both his legs. That's just the worst.
No, we better quickly move on to someone that I would be absolutely devastated if he broke both his legs. This is Phil's pick. This is Justin Herbert, a quarterback 10. And we're coming to you, Mags, for your reaction to this pick.
Don't love it, Phil. It's very rare I disagree with Phil, to be honest. I think Phil's a real smart guy, but I see Justin Herbert proving a lot of people wrong this year. The thing I think most people think about is Harbaugh's going to come in and he's going to, just hammer the ball and run the ball and smash the ball. And I believe that any time a team has ever ran the ball more than 50% of the time, they've never had a winning season in the NFL. So in the last, maybe not ever, in the last 20 years, it's been a long time since a coach has had a winning season by running the ball over 50% of the time. So Harbaugh's not going to do what he did in Michigan. Herbert is going to get more than ample opportunity to throw the ball. Ali, he's got Lad McConkey as well. I mean, the sky is the absolute limit. I think Herbert's going to come in. I think he will, like I say, prove a lot of people wrong. Would not shock me if actually he is up from QB 10. We talked about Jordan Love was ranked at quarterback 9. I'd take Justin Herbert over him almost every single time. For me, he's still up there in that sort of second tier below Mahomes and Allen. I think Justin Herbert is that good. He's up there in that second tier, and I expect him to climb right back up again to QB, 6, 7, where I think he belongs. But I can see the arguments on the other side about, you might be worried about the system and everything. I just think Justin Herbert is that good that he can make it work.
Kev, question for you. Would you take Herbert over Love right now in Dynasty?
Wow. I think full body of work, yes, I would, but it'd be extremely close. Like, I'll be honest with this pick from Phil. I like it. I'm sort of on a different thought process because I'm just thinking about Jordan Love. Like, I've just griefed him about being a pocket guy, efficiency. Justin Herbert's not going to be running this season. He's got that plantar fasciitis, whatever it's called, that like running in lead well he's going to really struggle to put a penny rushing upside this season. And then I think about the top 12 QBs from last season. There's only 2 in there that got by with no rushing and efficient passing. Brock Purdy, amazing situation. Got Jared Goff, very good situation in terms of the O-line. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. Fields. He's on my mind all the time. Justin Herbert, he doesn't have that. The O-line's questionable, the weapons are tough, and there's no rushing upside. So I think he struggles to be a QB1 this season. I think the talent's still there, but the question is not about like who I fancy as my QB1 or QB2 long term. It's how will his value go this season. I think it's going to be more like the curve that Trevor Lawrence has gone on, where he's dipped to QB 13, 14 range. And actually, that'll be the time to really push the chips in. I think that it's the injury for me that's really put it on there, because I think with the lack of weapons, it would have become that high passing volume upside where you're getting the scrambling, the rushing there as well. But yeah, that injury's dampened my outlook on him. So I think it's a smart pick from Phil, even though I do like a pylon.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting debate. I think similarly to Jordan Love, I can't see Herbert losing much value at all. I think the injury puts a little bit of a dampener on his potential ceiling this year. But, I mean, he's got Lad McConkey coming in that is just going to take the league by storm. I'm not even joking about that. So, Justin Herbert, yeah, I think he's going to have a frustrating year. I think if I was to put a bet on, or if I was choosing my redraft quarterback, I'd rather have Jordan Love for this year. But I think Justin Herbert is a better quarterback that's proved himself over a longer period of time, indeed. And I think ultimately...
Here he is.
What a guy. Love that.
Love it.
I think ultimately Justin Herbert is going to be ranked no lower than quarterback 12 this time next offseason. I think working in his favour, we talked about the rookie running back class coming in next year. The quarterback class is not looking as loaded as perhaps this year was. The names aren't there. There's a lot of names, but a lot of them at the minute, a lot of the scouts, they've not got high first end grades on, and I'll not be surprised if the first rookie drafted won't be a quarterback next draft. But so I think that works in his favor, and I think just because of the name brand, because of what he showed in the past, I think the Chargers will upgrade his weapons next offseason. I think they'll make a splashy play to help him out. And quarterback 12, I think, is going to be his lowest point. So, yeah, he could be right about this pick, Phil. He's a smart guy, but I don't think it will be winning the show.
I will say I've completely missed that injury news, so I'm a little sad about that now. So I will retract slightly, but not fully.
I have actually got that injury myself, and I know it's very painful, and I've not been able to run for about 2 months. So, they've got a lot better, health over there, and getting him into shape better than what they are me. So we'll see, but I think he could start the season slowly. But yeah, we'll move on to a guy that, I mean, he can't exactly gain any value, Sam Laporta, because he's already the tight end 1. So this pick by Jack, I think, has definitely got a chance to win if things don't go his way. So Kev, over to you for Laporta.
Well, actually, it can go up in value, can't it? Because we're on about the value itself. It'd have to end up being Travis Kelce version 2.0 to go up in value and get much higher in your rankings. But it's a pick I'm going to endorse. I got some absolute pelters for even suggesting the possibility towards the end of last season that Sam Laporta is an ideal sort of target to move off of in Dynasty and sort of recoup, tear down a little bit, get some extra assets. I got hounded by his fan club. Like, there's no way it's 100% outcome that he's Hall of Fame, tight end 1 for eternity, even past retirement. So yeah, like I'm endorsing this pick. I think there's guys behind him that I think deserve to be in the same tier in Trey McBride. I think there's guys that can end up in the same tier of him, like Dalton Kincaid. So yeah, if players are putting up similar performances at a similar age to Laporta, he could maintain his value and the others rise in value. But actually, I think just thinking about startups and things like that, why would you still take Laporta at the same spot? I see he's taking a breath away because his fan club are choking me out here. Why would you take Laporta at the same spot in your startup? You take him a little bit later because you've probably got a choice of 3 rather than a choice of 1 if you've got him in that tier of his own like he has now. So I love the pick. I think he'll have a good season, probably lower than expectations that people have got. So yeah, well done, Jack.
Yeah, I think you're right. It seems like a pretty obvious one, right? But you're right. The only way is down pretty much. I think, Kev, you did highlight like a scenario where Laporta could rise up. But I mean, I think I've sort of mentioned this before. Even though Laporta did finish as tight end 1 last year, it's not like the Travis Kelce tight end 1 years where he would have been like extrapolated to he would have been wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 5. it was nowhere close to that in terms of points gained, or even how far ahead he was of some of the other tight ends. Like Kelsey had I think it was something ridiculous. Like one year, the tight end 2 behind Kelsey was the equivalent of one Christian Kirk worth of points behind him. When Christian Kirk was like already the wide receiver 12 that year, it was ridiculous how far ahead Travis Kelsey was. Sam Laporta did not have a year like that, but he did have a hell of a good year. A hell of a good year. Right off the back of people telling me that rookie tight ends can't produce, by the way. Can I just mention that for the show? I think he could go down. He's obviously going to go down to tight end 2 at the best, because Dalton Kincaid will be tight end 1. So, yeah, Jack in with a shot.
Yeah, I love this pick. I think Jack has absolutely captured the essence of what we call a wild card faller. Someone that you have to take a chance on to get this right. And yeah, if things don't work out for Sam Laporta, he's already hyped up. The value is there where he could see a dramatic fall in terms of value, but still be ranked as a top 5 dynasty tight end. I mean, you could spin it either way. Sam Laporta's had the record rookie season for a tight end. Travis Kelce didn't have a record rookie season like Sam Laporta did. Is Sam Laporta better than Travis Kelce? Ask yourself that. Will he be better than Travis Kelce? I mean, it's a rather high benchmark to get to, but
no.
We'll revisit in 10 years' time when Sam Laporta is breaking records. But yeah, I mean, in terms of indeed, in terms of this ceiling, I think he's set up to absolutely succeed. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown is always going to be the first look in the offense, but it's such a high-powered offense. They're talking about Jameson Williams having to pick up slack because of the targets that are available there from last season. That is quite funny. I think Sam Laporta is going to be peppered with targets again this year. He was so great at getting open. He doesn't move like a tight end. He was the tight end. He was target magnet when it comes to the red zone. So yeah, I think with all the dome games, the 14 out of 17 dome games for Detroit, I think they're all set up to succeed. So, I can see him still being tight end 1 this time next year, but for me, he's in a tier of 4. And yeah, I don't think he's going to separate himself. He could easily fall down and lose the most value. So yeah, I think this is a really good pick by Jack. Someone that's definitely in the running for the winner. And someone 100% in the running for the winner is me. So we've had the preseason, should we call it, of the wildcard fallers. We'll move on to the main event now. This is our pick. So I'm going to move on to my pick, and I've also gone for a running back. That's someone that's ranked as running back 7 right now. I've gone for Travis Etienne. Now, Travis Etienne, as we all know, had a great season last year, running back 3 overall. That's great. His highest finish to date by a mile. I think RB 17 he was the season before. So in all accounts, had a really great season. He had 325 touches of the ball in 2023, which is exceptional. 3rd in the NFL behind that stud Rachaad White. But yeah, you have to break it down and look at what actually went on last season, because if you own Travis Etienne, you'll know that it wasn't such an easy rise. It didn't feel like him finishes in the RB3. It was easily a tale of 2 halves where there was a massive drop off in the second half of 2023. So you look at weeks 1 to 8, he averaged 22.3 touches per game, which is really, really good. Averaged 106.2 yards per game, which is elite. Then move on. So he was the RB4 first half of the season, but from week 10 onwards, his touches fell to 16.3 touches per game. So you're talking 6 touches less. He only averaged 70.5 total yards per game, which is not quite elite. And he was the RB22 the second half of the season. So really big fall from RB4 to RB22 in points per game. And that was married up with head coach Doug Peterson, the legend. He said halfway through the season that he wanted to he wanted to see the usage drop, and it would happen for Travis Etienne to keep him fresh. And he absolutely stuck to his word. Now, fast forward to this off season, a couple of months ago, he said, and I quote, "I would definitely consider knocking a few of those reps down to keep Travis Etienne healthy throughout the course of the year." So he said it once and he stuck to his words. So is he going to, again, keep him fresh, which would be a smart thing, but for fantasy, it's not great. So I think where you find Travis Etienne this year is probably somewhere in the middle, 18 touches per game, perhaps. I think I can easily see him finishing anywhere from RB 8, 9 to RB 15, which is fine. But for where you're having to take him, where he's ranked right now, RB 7 is obviously not great. I think the O-line as well, it was dreadful last year, 32nd in adjusted yards before contact per attempt, which PFF now ranks them 23rd this season. So they've signed someone called Mitch Morse from Buffalo. He averaged 64.5 PFF grade in 2023, so not great. So I'm not expecting a massive improvement for this offensive line either. So also combine that with the fact that he's going to be 26 years old in the season. I think that's an age where a lot of dynasty managers see their running backs and think, right, I need to now get out, because once he hits 27, nobody wants him. So I can see his value dropping pretty rapidly, imminently. He's going RB7 right now. He's ranked ahead of the likes of Kyron Williams, the superstar, Saquon Barkley. I think that's a mistake. Even Isaiah Pacheco, all three of these guys, I think, will comfortably outscore him this year. So my advice will be to, if you can, sell Travis Etienne now before his value falls. I'll head over to you boys for that reaction.
I think this is an outstanding pick, Ellie. I think this is very good, because looking at the running back rankings, there are 6 guys that I feel super safe and super happy with being my running back 1 on my Dynasty team. And then there he is, ranked at 7, Travis Etienne, where the cutoff point is for me. And I'm thinking, I'm no longer happy to have this guy as my running back 1. I'm delighted if Travis Etienne is my running back 2, but that running back 7 ranking doesn't justify that as really any kind of remote possibility without ruining the rest of my team in the draft process. So I really like this pick. The only thing that might be a struggle is I think Tank Bigsby is his main competition. So it's kind of like, who's going to take the carries away from him? Sure, they might say we're going to give him less to do and we're going to give the Tank Bigsby more. But if Tank's big, like if he's just rubbish, they're just going to give the ball back to Travis Etienne. I think his contract is fairly. Did they pick up the 5th year option? I think they picked up this 5th year option. I'm not 100% sure though. I think they signed him on. He's got 2 more years anyway. I think pretty much locked in over there at Jacksonville. So that will be the only thing, is how far down can he realistically go? Because who is going to take those touches and those receptions away from him? I don't think he's good enough to be ranked at running back 7. But the issue is, running backs turning into tight end now, where it's these elite guys at the top, and then it's just a whole who knows what's going to happen. So I think he could be onto a winner here if all the chips fall right, because he could plummet down if he doesn't get that exceptional usage. So yeah, Ali, I think you're in with a shot, mate.
Okay,
let's try and dampen the enthusiasm, shall we?
We'll move on to the next guy.
So my pick is now. I think I have a lot of the same sentiments I did on Rachaad White, in the sense that they're both 25 years old. A lot of it's to be volume and pass work. I think running back 7, it's a big price for what you're having to pay. I think in terms of just the ranking itself and thinking about the end of the season, I can't see him dropping a lot, just because I think he'll have a good season on volume. And I've tried to think about who will jump him around him. And like you've said, it's a bad tier to be targeting in my eyes. I think the couple that stand out as people that could jump him in certain scenarios are the rookies, Jonathan Brooks and Trey Benson. If probably a bit of a speculator on Benson, but they'd be the 2 that I think, they've got a chance. So So from that point of view, it's difficult, but I do think as well, like the running back landscape, I think we're going to see even further reduction in the value that we place on running backs just with split backfields, etc. I think, like I teased earlier on, there's going to be a renaissance next year, which is going to bring in some high class talent and give us that massive injection that we need in Dynasty. So, yeah, I think he can lose value, but I don't think it'll be from his performance this year. I just think it's more about how the community views running back and where he's currently ranked as running back 7. Partly because of, like Max said, Tank Bigsby. If you're scared of Tank Bigsby, I'm sorry.
Tank Bigsby is absolutely terrible. I can't believe that I once thought he was fairly decent, but what an absolute scrub. And we'll move on to a guy that's definitely not a scrub in the Dynasty landscape. But Kev has predicted that this guy, I mean, he's ranked and valued very, very highly. CJ Stroud, is he going to be the winner, Kev? Give us your thoughts behind CJ Stroud, who's currently quarterback 3. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I should win this little mini competition we've got going on because I got to pick first. So if the winner's not CJ Stroud, then I've had a nightmare. So yeah, please do save this part of the video. Come after me when I'm not winning, and it's all good. I think a lot of the thoughts I have on CJ Stroud were covered in the Roast show, which it was great rinsing him and talking about like the lack of ceiling and like how much hype the community has over him for what he's put on tape. Like it wasn't a top. I don't think he was top 12 QB in fantasy points per game last season. He got there by volume, or he was right at that cutoff point. He's someone that I think he can lead the league in passing this season. Absolutely, I think the weapons are great. I think we've also got to bear in mind running backs improved, like Singletary, Damian Pierce. You now got Joe Mixon, who's despite his age, is a big upgrade there. CJ Stroud for me, like QB3, it's the archetype. It's nothing about what he's done on the field or what he can do in a real life perspective. It's more about no rush upside and the players that are inevitably going to jump him. Because we've read this book before where you had your Joe Burrow, your Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, they all jump into that top 3, and then it corrects when their efficiency goes for a season or they get an injury because they're a pocket QB and they're more likely to get injured. Then it just flips, and you've got the dual threat guys that are outscoring them on a season to season basis. So he's going to drop. Like I can't, unless he is Patrick Mahomes reborn, he's going to drop from QB3 to, it might be 4, 5, potentially 6, depending on how Anthony Richardson does. But I think he's a you can't speak in certainties because we've got to just talk about like percentages, but I think he's a very high likelihood he's not QB3 and he's not valued at that same value he is on Keep Trade Cut. So nothing about the player, just I don't think he deserves to be there.
Max?
I think you're spot on again, Kev. Like CJ Stroud, I don't own a lot of shares of CJ Stroud, but some of the offers that became possible as soon as Stroud became that number 1 quarterback for that brief moment on Keep Trade Cut where he was ranked at number 1. I took screenshots of that. I put it into the league chat I was in, and I said, come get the number 1 quarterback if you want. He's on the block. And I managed to do like some lovely deals. Like I turned CJ Stroud and Zamir White into Jalen Hurts and Devon Achane. Like little things like that, which I just think like just huge impact for the team because people buy into the hype. CJ Stroud is awesome. By the way, if you've not heard him on like Micah Parsons' podcast or some of these other things that he goes like, I could listen to this guy talk about football all day long. I think he's got a career broadcasting after already. He's only like a kid, but already I can see him like in a Fox booth after doing commentary. He's so clever. He's so smart, but he's ranked really, really highly right now. And this is a league that has Josh Allen and has Patrick Mahomes. and he ain't getting ahead of them. I'm sorry, like realistically. So the only way to go is stay the same or go down. So yeah, I think you could be a winner here, Kevin. People are going to get real excited about some of those Russian quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, while he is mobile, he's not a Russian quarterback, so he's not going to be able to be a game breaker like an Anthony Richardson, or if Jaden Daniels takes fire, right, those guys are going to be pushed up ahead of him.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to throw haste on this pick and say I don't think you got a chance of winning, Kev, but clearly, clearly the whole point of this exercise is to find the value drop, not the ranking drop, because I think you've got no chance. But in terms of the value drop, I think it's a semi-realistic chance of winning. Is it impossible for me to see him be the quarterback one again, but end there permanently? I don't think it's totally impossible. I think we've talked about how Dalton Kincaid is going to have to be great for Josh Allen, because there's literally not very good weapons in Buffalo at all. They could potentially struggle this year. Patrick Mahomes is another year older. He's not exactly the fantasy scorer that he was 2 or 3 years ago with Tyreek Hill. That Kansas City defense is absolutely almost the best in the NFL now. So Mahomes is not having to put up all these points, and he didn't last year. So I think there's a realistic possibility that CJ Stroud is the quarterback one in Dynasty in a year's time. But if I was to put a chance, or if I was to bet on it, I'd say he stays at quarterback 3 or his value falls. So I think this is a great pick. There's absolutely no chance that I'd have him ahead of Jalen Hurts. Wouldn't have him ahead of Lamar Jackson either. He's quarterback 5 for me, which I think is where he belongs. And yeah, I think the whole point of the exercise is finding someone that is going to fall in value. And the only thing surprising for me, Kev, is you didn't pick Puka Nacua, because he is terrible.
It's funny, innit? I pick him up in one league and then he gets injured. Like, horrible bloke.
Brilliant. So yeah, I think you're onto a winner there, Kev, with CJ Stroud. But we'll see. Obviously, he's got Stephon Diggs, the curse of Stephon Diggs, so it could all go south for CJ Stroud this year. And we'll move on to the final Faller pick.
The winning.
And on to you, Mags. And if anybody knows anything about Mags, this is going to be possibility out of two players here. A wide receiver for the Falcons or running back for the Rams. Let us know who it is, Mags.
It's a running back for the Rams for me. It's Kyren Williams. I think he's going to be the biggest faller. Again, it's just a matter of I talked about earlier, this running back like rankings from 7 all the way down, kind of like the tight end seed. You could end up anywhere in there, I think. And I just feel that Sean McVay thinks he can get more out of that position than what he has with Kyren Williams. Why do you go out and draft a guy like Blake Corum, whose specialty, by the way, is scoring touchdowns in the red zone? Kyren Williams, his value was boosted hugely last year because of those 12 rushing touchdowns that he managed to get. I looked up the efficiency of that compared to other players in the league. It wasn't horrible at all. It was actually pretty good. I looked up the Rams' efficiency in terms of when they enter the red zone, how good are they at converting, that into touchdowns? Pretty good, but it's still a good 12% behind teams like San Francisco. And I know Sean McVay wants to be right up there with the best of them. That's kind of the guy that he is. So I think we will see Kyren Williams go from being the guy in this backfield to being in a committee. Call me crazy, boys, and I think this might be a crazy thing, and I think I'm just looking for it at this stage, right? They went out and signed a guy like Jared Patterson as well, who is the teeny tiny little guy that played for the Commanders. His specialty is also getting in the end zone in the red zone. I think they're looking for something there because I don't think they're fully happy with Kyren Williams in that position. He had 3 fumbles last year as well, a couple of them in the red zone. The highest in the NFL last year for running back was 4 fumbles. I just don't think Sean McVay is quite pleased with what he's getting out of Kyren. I don't think that Kyren's all of a sudden going to be the number 2 guy behind a Blake Corum, but I think he's going to slide into a committee role. I think his touchdowns are going to regress, and I think because of that, his value is going to slide down a lot.
Yeah, I think you're looking for reasons to hate him because I thought Jarrett Patterson is a Charger.
Oh, he might well be.
Plays in the same stadium, but I think he's a Charger. But Kev, over to you for your reaction to Kyren Williams.
Yeah, I think J.K. Dobbins joined that backfield. I'm kidding. Look, headline number when you think Kyren Williams is running back 2 in fantasy points per game last season. Being honest, that is one of the most unbelievable outcomes in fantasy I can remember, just of where a player's come from, the expectations. Obviously, Puka Nakua's was an outlier. Kyren Williams was an outlier as well, where he's come from as an absolute nobody as a rookie to do that. And when you look at how he did it, it was from a massive amount of volume. It was through 12 touchdowns on the ground, 3 through the air in 12 games. So 15 touchdowns in 12 games for a guy that's built like a Lego. He's not a big guy at all. There was some pass game work in there. And then you look at who was taking touches away from him or what that backfield was, just full of disgraces, to be honest. I'm not even a Blake Corum fan, but he's miles better than what they had last season there. Kyren Williams is someone that was running back 1 in opportunity share or snap share, over 8% of snaps was played when he was available. Yeah, it's one of those where he can lose pass game work and be in trouble. It can lose rushing or receiving touchdowns and be in trouble. Or it's just purely snaps, the fact that it could be just an overall volume thing where they're thinking, right, let's keep him fresh. Let's make it rather than 80-20 with someone, let's make it 60-40. And you probably have to do that if you think in real life. Kyren Williams, as I said, he's not putting that workload up all season long. There's very few can do it nowadays. They need to think about if they're going to contend, they can't be giving him 80%. It's got to be a 60-40 in my eyes for them to sort of push on and really challenge in the NFC. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to be running back 2. That's really brave, isn't it? So I still think he'll have a good season because I like the offense. I think he's going to still have opportunity. And you know what? He got 15 touchdowns. He's not going to get that again, but I think he's got to have shown some talent there. I think he'll probably finish as running back 1-2 cusp. Similar to Travis Etienne in the force. I think about guys going around him. Who's going to jump him? There's maybe a few with Williams because we've only seen it once and we probably need to see a little bit more. So I think he'll lose value. I don't think many people will jump him. But actually, because we've only seen it for 1 year, I think there's more likelihood that he could have, if you're thinking a best case outcome for this, he could lose his starting job to Blake Corum because we know what Sean McVay's like. Darrell Henderson was solid over many years and he just got thrown aside. So
Cam Akers
as well. So yeah, I think if you're thinking median outcome, yeah, it'll drop a little bit and it is what it is. But there is a range of outcomes where this guy completely falls off a map, or not completely falls off a map, but he becomes the 1B in a backfield, just based on McVay and the very small sample size.
And apologies to Jared Patterson, you're right, Ali. He is an LA Charger, not an LA Ram. Although I looked up, the Rams have signed Boston Scott. So if the Rams are playing the Giants, and you know Kyron's getting nothing against the Giants, so if that comes up, look out.
Love that. I think the thought process is absolutely spot on, and this is a fitting way to finish, because I think this is the ultimate wild card where I think a lot of the picks tonight, including ours, are fairly safe guys that won't lose a massive amount of value, but there is a real possibility. I'm not predicting it, but there is a possibility that Kev just mentioned it there, that he loses his starting job to Blake Corum, who is himself a touchdown machine from college and a winner. I think he fits that offense perfectly. Did they not get Darrell Henderson literally off the street for a couple of weeks last year, and then tossed him aside again, and he was fantasy relevant for a couple of weeks, I think I remember. So
when Williams was injured,
exactly, it just makes you wonder how good Kyron Williams actually is. In Mag's words, he's terrible. But I'd love to see him on the Buccaneers offense from 2023 and just see how he gets on. Put him behind a bad offensive line. I don't think he succeeds half as well as he does on this Rams offense with Sean McVay. So yeah, I think it's a good pick. I think it is the ultimate wild card because I'm predicting, and I'm absolutely all in on Kyron Williams this redraft season. I think he has a really good season. I think if I was to predict it, I think Blake Corum has been brought in to keep him fresh. I think they still want Kyron to be the guy just because he fits the offense so well. But if anything happens to him, and he's had an injury history before, if he goes down again, Blake Corum's going to come in there. And who's to say that he ever gets that start and roll back off Blake Corum? So yeah, I think this is the ultimate wildcard pick because he could be ranked as RB8 again next year. He could be ranked as RB28 if Blake Corum takes the job and he has another injury. So this could definitely be in with a shout for the winner, Mags. So yeah, in summary, I know we're just past the hour mark, but I wanted to get from you boys who you think is the best pick outside of our own. Who would you put your money on? Because obviously it's going to be the winner's going to be one of us three. But if you had to pick someone out of the rest of the wildcard team, who would you go for, Kev?
So I can't pick either of you two. I wasn't going to pick you two either because
we wouldn't pick either.
Yeah, I'm not having that. Best one to go down in value. It's going to be Sam Laporta. I just feel that I'm a Trey McBride guy. I think there's other reasons there why it's going to work. So yeah, that'll be my pick.
And Mags?
Well, just to say a different answer, Jordan Love's going to feel the pressure of being the highest paid player in the NFL. He's going to crumble. He's going to drop. How about that?
Love it. And I'll just say, for pure comedy and a double leg break.
Don't you say it.
Dalton Kincaid is going to be the winner. And with that does bring us to the end of the second show where we've given our fantasy wildcard selections for 2024. So yeah, let us know who you think is going to be the winner, who was the best pick, who was the worst pick. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us and subscribe on X and YouTube at Fantasy Wildcard and at Wildcard Dynasty. We'll soon be into the season, boys. Cannot wait. Thank you once again. Have a good one, and we'll see you again very soon.
When you have the wild card, you have the power to change the game.